I met Bianca at a friend's engagement party. She was standing near the bar, sipping water with lime, while everyone else was already 2 glasses into the night. What stood out wasn't her dress or the way her hair framed her face. It was how still she was. Calm, observant, like she didn't need attention to feel like she belonged. I like people like that. People who don't perform. We talked that night. Nothing dramatic. She asked what I did. I told her I was in logistics, managing operations for a mid-sized distribution company. I asked about her. She was finishing a postgrad in marketing. We talked about music, politics, childhood, and before I left, she slipped me her number without making it a big deal. 6 months later, we were inseparable. We didn't fight over stupid things. We respected each other's space. She admired how focused I was. Said I had that rare calm she didn't see in other guys. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't loud. But I showed up, on time, when it mattered without making noise about it. That's the thing. Most women say they want stability, but when they get it, some of them get bored. They want storms, not structure. They want unpredictability dressed as passion. And when they get consistency, they call it routine. Bianca didn't start that way. For the first 2 years, we were good. She was affectionate, grounded, present. She'd wait up for me after work, sit beside me on the couch just to talk, hug me without a reason. We traveled, built things together. I gave her freedom. She gave me peace. But I started noticing changes around year 3. At first, it was subtle. She stopped hugging me when I got home. Conversations got shorter. Her phone became a second skin. I'd wake up, and she'd already be lost in Instagram, TikTok, whatever it was that day. I'd reach for her and get a lazy nod or a distracted I didn't panic. I don't move out of impulse. I observe. One morning, I asked if she wanted to do something together that weekend. Something simple, just the two of us. She said, without looking at me, I got plans with the girls. Then added, why don't you do something on your own? It's good for us to have space. Sure, I believe in space. I don't believe in distance disguised as space. Then it got worse. The energy changed. Her tone, when she spoke to me, lost softness. She wasn't hostile, just indifferent. And I'll be honest, I wasn't perfect. I worked long hours. I'm quiet by nature. I don't flood phones with sweet messages during the day. But I was loyal. I was present. I did what a man does. I provided, I protected, and I stayed solid. But my presence started feeling invisible to her. She started going out more, always with a few new friends I'd never met. Started dressing up for dinners I wasn't invited to. Started carrying herself like she wasn't part of a couple anymore. So I brought it up, sat her down, looked her in the eyes, and said, are we still in this together? Because I feel like you're halfway out the door already. She didn't deny it, didn't even blink. She just shrugged and said something that stuck with me. Gabriel, maybe it's time for you to move on. I don't want this anymore. That was it. No yelling, no tears, no regret, just a flat dismissal. And you know what? I didn't chase. I didn't get angry or beg or start listing everything I'd done for her over the years. That's not who I am. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and let sink in. Then I came back and said, all right, but don't call me later pretending you didn't say that. Don't tell me you were just emotional. You said it, and I'm going to take you seriously. She looked at me like she didn't expect that. Because women like her, they don't expect a man to actually walk when pushed. They expect bargaining, pleading, a desperate attempt to win them back. But I'm not built like that. I'm not a puppy. I'm a man. And when a woman tells me to go, I go. Quietly. Dignified. For real. That night, I slept in the guest room. Didn't even take a pillow from our bed. The next morning, I got up early, hit the gym, then called a guy I knew who handled short-term rentals. Booked myself a furnished apartment for 3 months. I didn't make a scene. I didn't text her from the new place. I let her live her decision. And I started living mine. Those first few nights alone were tough. Not gonna lie. It's not easy going from a home to an empty apartment with 1 towel, 2 plates, and no smell of the woman you once loved. But pain doesn't scare me. I felt worse. And I knew I wasn't going to let this break me. I focused on myself. Work, training, reading, sleeping well, eating right. And eventually, I stopped thinking about her. Stopped wondering what she was doing, who she was with, if she regretted it. because regret wasn't my business anymore. She made her choice, and I honored it. I wasn't interested in revenge. Not yet. But I knew one thing. I was going to rebuild myself in silence. And if she ever saw me again, she'd see the version of me she never deserved in the first place. And when that happened, that's when the real story would begin. It had been a little over 4 months since I walked out of Bianca's life. In that time, I rebuilt myself in ways I didn't even realize I needed. I was sleeping better, eating cleaner, training consistently. My business was running smoother, too. Funny how peace of mind sharpens your focus. And most importantly, I wasn't bitter. That's what confused most people. I wasn't plotting revenge. I wasn't stalking her socials. I wasn't updating mine to prove anything. I wasn't pretending to be okay. I was actually okay. There's a kind of silence that settles in a man when he no longer needs closure. That's where I was. Grounded. I wasn't dating anyone seriously at first. I kept things light. I wasn't in a rush to replace her. But I wasn't closed off either. I knew my value. I had clarity now. And when you know your worth, you don't chase, you attract. Then came Clara. We met through mutual friends. No drama, no build-up. She wasn't flashy, just calm, present, real. The kind of woman who looks you in the eye when she talks. The kind who doesn't ask what you do for a living in the first 5 minutes because she's too busy getting to know who you actually are. I'll be honest, I didn't see it coming. I wasn't looking for anything serious, but something about her made me want to show up. She wasn't trying to fix me or test me. She didn't play hard to get, but she didn't cling either. She just existed beside me in a way that felt easy. One weekend, we went to a rooftop event. Live music, laid-back crowd, sunset view. The kind of place where no one's trying to be seen. It was the first time I'd brought someone with me publicly, and I didn't even think twice. I felt light. I felt good. Clara was laughing at something I said, head tilted back, the kind of real laughter you don't fake, when I noticed a familiar silhouette near the bar. I didn't freeze. I didn't panic, but I felt it instantly. Bianca. Hair longer. Same stance. Still scanning the room like she owned it. Until her eyes landed on me. And then, she froze. I saw it all over her face. Shock. Recognition. Panic. Because the version of me she saw that night wasn't the man she left. I wasn't hunched. I wasn't distant. I wasn't broken. I was standing tall, looking better than ever, with another woman on my arm who clearly wanted to be there. I nodded politely when our eyes met. Nothing extra. No smile. No arrogance. Just acknowledgement, like a stranger you used to know in a different lifetime. Clara noticed the tension, leaned over and said, "Do you know her?" I just replied, "Used to," and that was that. We didn't stay much longer after that. Clara had an early shift the next morning, and I had no interest in turning a peaceful night into a spectacle. But later that evening, my phone lit up. Unknown number at first. And the message came through. "I saw you today." No name. No intro. Just that. I stared at it for a moment, then put the phone down. 15 minutes later. "Gabriel, please, can we talk?" I didn't answer. Next morning, 3 missed calls. 1 voice message. I didn't even open them. It went on for 2 days. Messages growing longer. Sadder. Desperate. I made a mistake. "I miss you." I thought I was doing the right thing, but I didn't know it would hurt this much. The emotional 180 was so intense, it almost felt scripted. But I knew what was really happening. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me that belonged to her. She missed the attention she didn't have to earn. She missed the safety net she pushed away. She didn't expect me to actually move on, and definitely not to do it well. On the 3rd day, I finally responded. Just 1 line. "You told me to move on." "I did." She replied instantly. "I didn't think you'd actually stop loving me." I sat with that. Let's settle. And then, like clockwork, she called again. This time I picked up. Her voice cracked the second she said my name. "Gabriel, I don't even know where to start." "You already started," I said calmly. "When you looked me in the eyes and told me to walk away." I was angry. I was overwhelmed. "I didn't mean it." "Don't do that." I interrupted. "Don't rewrite it. You said it. You were clear. And I respected you enough to listen." Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, "I saw you with her and I couldn't breathe." I didn't respond. I thought it wouldn't bother me. I thought you'd just fade away. But seeing you like that, laughing, happy, her voice broke. What exactly do you want, Bianca? I asked. She hesitated. I want to fix it. Us. I exhaled. Slowly. Too late. No, she whispered. Please, just give me a chance. Let me explain. I don't need an explanation. You told me I wasn't what you wanted anymore. I believed you. I left. You don't get to change the rules because it suddenly hurts now. I heard her breathing pick up. She was crying now, full on. I know I messed up, but I can't stand seeing you with someone else. I closed my eyes, and that's when I knew she didn't want me back. She just couldn't handle watching me belong to someone else. So I told her the truth. You don't miss what we had. You miss the version of me who would have dropped everything just because you snapped your fingers. She tried to deny it, but I kept going. The man you walked away from doesn't exist anymore. He grew up. He let go. He learned to live without needing your permission. More silence. And then I ended it. I'm not angry, Bianca. I'm not bitter. I just don't need you anymore. That's what freedom looks like. And I hung up. Just like that. Not because I hated her, but because peace is worth protecting, and I wasn't about to trade it for someone who only remembered my value when it was finally out of reach. There's a strange kind of peace that settles in once you realize you don't owe anyone anything anymore. Not even an explanation. That was me after that last call with Bianca. I didn't slam doors. I didn't scream. I didn't go online and post some cryptic quote about knowing your worth. I just stopped engaging. And that silence? That was my answer. She had asked for space. She wanted out. She told me to move on. And the truth is, at the time, it hurt like hell. I'll never pretend it didn't. But what I never showed her, and what she never expected, was that I was listening. She probably thought I'd hang around in the background. Wait out. Let her find herself, and then come back when she was ready. But I wasn't her contingency plan. I was a man with his own path. And I kept walking. Weeks turned to months. Bianca tried to poke her way back into my life a few times. Soft messages. Hope you're doing well. Saw something today that reminded me of you. Even a couple missed calls late at night, the kind of calls that only come when regret gets louder than pride. But I didn't bite. Not because I was angry, but because I had outgrown the version of myself that needed her validation. My life wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I got back into boxing, cut sugar from my diet. My mornings started earlier. My work got sharper. I even reconnected with some family members I'd been too distracted to call. And of course, Clara was still in the picture, slowly, steadily, without pressure. She didn't try to be my therapist. She didn't rush the relationship. She just showed up. She laughed at my dry jokes, remembered my coffee order, and listened, really listened, when I spoke. And the craziest part? She never once brought up my past, unless I chose to. There was one afternoon, though, when I told Clara the full story, not because she asked, but because I felt she deserved the truth. We were sitting in a small cafe, sun pouring in through the windows, when I said, Bianca didn't break me. She just reminded me I was building a future with someone who didn't want to hold a hammer. Clara nodded, didn't say much, just reached across the table and squeezed my hand. And that small gesture, that hit harder than any apology Bianca ever tried to send. And yet, I'm human. So when I saw Bianca again, in person, it triggered something. It was a Thursday, end of day. I'd stopped by a bookstore to grab a gift for Clara's birthday. Something simple. A poetry collection she mentioned once in passing. I was standing in line when I heard someone say my name softly, like they weren't sure they should. I turned. There she was. Bianca. Different hair. Same eyes. She looked not bad, but tired. That kind of exhaustion that comes from chasing things that never bring peace. She smiled, the kind of forced smile people wear when they're bracing for impact. I nodded. She walked over. Hi, she said, like we were old friends. Hey, I replied. Long pause. I didn't know you came here, she said. I do now and then. Another beat of silence. She glanced at the book in my hand. For someone. Yeah. She nodded again. Her smile faded. You look good, she finally said. Thanks. You seem lighter. I am. She swallowed hard. I could tell she wanted to say more. I could see the build-up behind her eyes, the words forming and dying behind her teeth. But I wasn't going to make it easier. So I just stood there. Then she whispered, Do you ever think about us? I looked her in the eye. Not anymore. And that's when it hit her. Not the fact that I had moved on, but that I had done it without bitterness, without dragging her name, without needing to prove a point. I had done it quietly, powerfully, and completely. She blinked fast, clearly fighting tears. I messed up, she said, voice barely audible. I nodded. I know. And then I stepped forward, past her, paid for the book, and walked out. That was the last time I saw her. No dramatic ending. No confrontation. Just two people crossing paths. One carrying the weight of regret, the other carrying nothing at all. That night, I gave Clara the book. She smiled, surprised I remembered. We had wine, listened to music, and she fell asleep on the couch with her head on my chest. I looked at her, peaceful in her sleep, and I realized something. I didn't win because I found someone else. I won because I found myself. Bianca had told me to move on, thinking she'd always have a way back in. But real men don't wait around hoping to be chosen twice. When we walk away, we don't turn around. We build. We rise. We love again, this time with people who don't make us beg to be seen. And that's the kind of revenge that doesn't need to be shouted. It just lives in silence and success, forever out of reach. My name is Lucas Morgan, and I used to believe that love could survive anything. Arguments, stress, long work hours, even distance. I believed that when two people truly cared, they could figure it out. What I didn't prepare for was a kiss. Just one. Because according to my wife, Sophie, that's all it was. It was just a kiss, Lucas. Just a stupid, meaningless kiss. I love you. But it wasn't the kiss that broke me. It was that sentence. It happened on a Sunday. The kind of quiet, sleepy afternoon when life feels almost too calm to be real. I had just gotten back from the gym and was sitting on the couch scrolling through emails when Sophie came in, looking nervous, not panicked, not guilty, just different. She sat next to me, close but tense, and said, "I need to tell you something before you hear it from someone else." That sentence alone made my stomach drop. I turned to her slowly, trying to hold on to the version of her I thought I knew. And then she said it, quick and almost emotionless, like ripping off a Band-Aid. "I kissed someone last night." My mind didn't process the words right away. I blinked at her, unsure whether she was serious or testing some twisted joke. "You what?" She bit her lip and looked down. "At Rachel's party. It wasn't planned. I had too much wine, and it just happened. It didn't mean anything, Lucas. It was just a kiss." That sentence. It was just a kiss. It echoed in my mind louder than anything else she said afterward. I didn't even ask who it was. Not right away. The name wouldn't have made a difference. Whether it was some random stranger or someone I knew, the weight of what she had done wasn't about who. It was about why. Because Sophie wasn't impulsive. She didn't drink excessively. And more than anything, she was calculated. If she kissed someone, it wasn't an accident. It was a choice. I stared at her, trying to make sense of her tone, her posture, her complete lack of panic. She wasn't afraid I'd leave. She just didn't want me to hear it first from someone else. That said everything. I stood up, slowly, not because I wanted to storm out, but because I physically couldn't sit next to her anymore. She watched me with that half-guilt, half-defensive look people get when they know they've done something wrong, but are still hoping you'll minimize it for them. "It meant nothing," she repeated. "I was drunk, Lucas. I didn't even enjoy it. I came home thinking about you." That part stung, because if I was on her mind, why wasn't I enough to stop her? "I didn't sleep with him," she added quickly. "I swear. It was just a kiss. Just one." I didn't answer right away. I walked into the kitchen, filled a glass with water, and stared out the window, breathing in slowly. I wasn't angry, not in the way people expect. No raised voice, no broken glasses, no pacing. Just silence. The kind of silence that comes when you realize something inside you just snapped. I thought back to the times I defended her when friends made comments about how flirty she could be. I remembered all the nights I stayed up late helping her with work projects, being her support system. I remembered the hours I spent planning our anniversary dinner 2 months ago, hoping to reconnect because I'd felt her pulling away, but I blamed stress, not disinterest. All of that, all of me was sitting right there in that glass of water, still untouched and ignored. I turned back to her and said calmly, "So that's supposed to make it okay?" She looked up, startled by how even my tone was. "No, I know it doesn't. I just, I didn't think it would matter this much if I was honest with you." That made me laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was insane. "You didn't think kissing someone else would matter that much to your husband?" Her face twisted, as if I was the one being unreasonable. "It wasn't an affair," she said defensively. "I didn't sleep with him. I didn't lie to you. I told you the truth." I nodded, slow and steady. "You're right. You didn't lie just now. You just betrayed me yesterday and hoped telling me today would make it noble." That shut her up, because we both knew the truth. She didn't confess out of love. She confessed out of fear, fear that someone else at that party would get to me first. Her honesty wasn't love. It was strategy, and that was worse. I grabbed my jacket and car keys. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice cracking for the first time. "I don't know," I replied. "Away from this conversation. Away from you." She stood quickly. "Lucas, please. You're blowing this out of proportion." That phrase, it was like acid in my ears. I turned to her one last time and said, firmly, without raising my voice, "I would have taken a bullet for you, and you gave your lips to someone else like it was nothing. You don't get to decide how big this is for me." Then I walked out. That night, I stayed in my car for over 2 hours, parked in front of a 24-hour gas station. I didn't cry. I didn't text anyone. I just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring into the quiet night, wondering how something as simple as a kiss could ruin a whole life. But that's the thing. It wasn't the kiss. It was what the kiss said about her. That I wasn't enough. That her commitment was conditional. That all the promises she made could dissolve under the right lighting and a glass of wine. She'd show me who she really was in one careless moment. And I believed her. I never moved back in. In the days that followed, she sent long messages. She said things like, "Don't throw everything away over one mistake," and "You're being dramatic." She even tried sending photos of us, little memories to remind me of better times. But all I saw were lies I hadn't noticed when those pictures were taken. She begged me to come home. I didn't respond, because Sophie didn't lose me when she kissed another man. She lost me the moment she thought I'd stay anyway. I didn't return home that night. I slept at a modest hotel just outside of town. Not because I needed to run away from Sophie, but because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing where I was. I needed silence, distance, a place where I could breathe without feeling like every inhale was contaminated by her betrayal. The room was small, quiet, and plain. No fancy furniture, no framed photos, just a bed, a chair, and 4 walls that didn't lie to me. I stared at the ceiling in the dark for hours, trying to make sense of everything. Not just the kiss, that was simple. She kissed another man. What I couldn't make sense of was her calmness, her tone, her lack of fear when she told me. She didn't expect me to leave. That part kept hitting me harder than anything. Somewhere along the way, Sophie had grown so comfortable in my loyalty that she believed it was unconditional, permanent. That I was the kind of man who would absorb any blow as long as she told me, "I love you," afterward. And maybe I was. Until that day. The next morning, I didn't text her. I didn't check my phone at all. I walked to a small diner 2 blocks from the hotel, ordered coffee, and sat by the window. Life outside kept moving. Cars passed, people laughed, a father held his daughter's hand as they crossed the street. Ordinary scenes. But to me, that moment was extraordinary. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about Sophie's moods. I wasn't trying to make her happy. I wasn't wondering if I'd said something wrong, or if she'd come home upset, or if she still loved me the way I loved her. I was just sitting, and I felt peace. Not the kind of peace that feels euphoric. The kind that feels earned, quiet, grounded. I pulled out a notepad and wrote 1 sentence across the page. "Let her live with the silence she gave you." Back home, Sophie had started unraveling. I didn't see it firsthand, but I know exactly how it happened, because I've seen this pattern before. Not just in romantic relationships, but in people who push too far and expect you to come crawling back. At first, they wait, confident. They think, he just needs time. He'll come around. Then the silence stretches. 1 day becomes 2. 2 becomes 5. Their confidence turns into questions. Why isn't he calling? Why hasn't he come back? They start reaching out. Small messages at first. Innocent sounding. Disguised as concern. Hey, just checking if you're okay. Can we please talk? I read them. All of them. But I didn't reply. Because Sophie didn't deserve my words. Not anymore. She already showed me how much value they held in her world. A week later, I returned to the house. Not to stay, just to pick up what was mine. She was there, of course, sitting on the couch, pretending to read, but really just waiting. The moment I walked in, her eyes lit up like hope had come to visit. "Lucas," she breathed. Thank God. I said nothing. I walked past her, straight to the bedroom, and began packing. She followed me in, stood in the doorway, watching me fold shirts and unplug chargers like I was stealing something that belonged to her. "You're really doing this?" she asked. I kept packing. She walked closer. "It was a mistake, Lucas. I told you the truth. Doesn't that mean something?" I looked at her, really looked, and I didn't see the woman I once adored. I saw someone who thought honesty erased damage. Someone who thought, "I love you," was a broom to sweep betrayal under the rug. "I'm not doing this because you kissed someone," I said finally. "I'm doing this because you thought I wouldn't leave after you did." Her face cracked. "I never said that." "You didn't have to," I replied. "It was in how you told me. Like it was a bad joke I'd forgive in an hour. Like I was too loyal to ever walk away." Her voice rose a little. "I've apologized. I've been texting you for days. I'm trying to fix this." I shook my head. "You're trying to undo a choice you made when you thought I'd still be here after." She fell silent. I zipped the last bag and walked it to the door. Charlie, the neighbor's dog who always used to bark when I came home, was oddly quiet. The whole house was. She followed me again. "So that's it? You're just gone?" I opened the door. She reached for my arm. "Lucas, please." I stepped away, gently but firmly. I stayed loyal even when I felt unseen. I stayed kind even when you went cold. I stayed patient while you drifted. I gave everything, and you gambled it for a kiss you called meaningless. Her eyes welled up. It was just a moment. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything to me. And then I left. In the weeks that followed, her calls kept coming. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. My silence was my answer. And she started to feel it. Not just my absence, but the absence of the version of herself that only existed when she was loved by me. The woman who used to be adored, prioritized, respected. That version didn't exist without me. And she knew it. She began writing long messages. Pages, practically. Confessions. Explanations. Guilt-ridden monologues. I didn't read most of them, because healing doesn't come from rereading the words of someone who didn't value you in real time. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. Small, clean, simple. No shared photos. No ghost furniture. Just me. I went back to cooking. Back to the gym. I took long walks in the evening. I met up with friends I hadn't seen in months. I remembered what it felt like to laugh without hesitation, to sleep without emotional noise, to live without waiting for someone to love me correctly. And that, I realized, was the real win. Not hurting her. Not replacing her. Just outgrowing her completely. Sophie thought the end of our marriage would be loud, that there'd be fights, begging, storms. Instead, it was quiet, and that's what destroyed her. Because there's nothing scarier to someone who hurt you than realizing you're not angry. You're just done. 3 months. That's how long it had been since I left the house Sophie and I once called home. Since I walked out without yelling, without looking back, and without giving her the drama she was probably expecting. It had been 90 days of silence from my end, and a stream of desperate attempts from hers. Messages, missed calls, voicemails at 2 a.m. that started with "I just want to talk" and ended in tears. I never responded to any of them. Not because I hated her, because I had finally learned to love myself more than I loved the version of her I used to hold on to. She had tried everything. Guilt, memories, nostalgia. She sent photos from trips we took years ago, captioned with things like, "Remember this? We were so happy here." She sent me a picture of my old hoodie she used to steal. Said she still slept in it. "It still smells like you." At one point, she even messaged my sister, Claire, asking if she thought I would ever forgive her. Claire didn't reply. That silence wasn't just loyalty, it was understanding. She saw what I had been through. She saw the nights I sat on her couch, numb, disconnected, trying to accept that a kiss, just one kiss, had shown me a truth I could no longer unsee. I remember the night everything finally snapped for Sophie. I was sitting in a small restaurant downtown, not fancy, but warm. Wooden tables, soft music, dim lighting. I was there with someone. Not a new relationship, not yet, but someone who made me feel seen. Her name was Eva. We met by chance at a bookstore. I was buying a novel I used to love in college, something I hadn't touched in years, and she made a passing comment about how that author always broke her heart. We laughed, talked for 10 minutes, and she walked away with a smile that stayed in my mind the rest of the week. We had only been on a couple of casual dinners since then, but every conversation with her felt easy. No tension, no walking on emotional eggshells, just two people sharing moments without pretending. That night, as we waited for our food, my phone buzzed. It was Sophie. Again. This time, it wasn't a message or a call. It was a video. I hesitated, then opened it. It was her, sitting on the edge of her old bed, hair down, eyes swollen. "Lucas," she began, her voice shaky, "I know you hate me. I know I broke your heart, and maybe I don't deserve your time anymore, but I don't know how to stop loving you. I can't eat. I can't sleep. Everything in this house reminds me of you. I thought I was strong enough to handle space between us. I thought I'd find clarity. But the only thing I've found is that I was an idiot to think a kiss meant nothing." She wiped her face and kept going. "I know you're probably with someone new, and I don't blame you. But if there's any part of you that still remembers the way we used to love each other, please just tell me it's not too late." I stared at the screen for a long time, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel sad. I just felt disconnected. Whatever we had, whatever it used to be, was gone. Her voice didn't break me anymore. Her tears didn't move me. Her regret didn't matter, because the man she wanted back didn't exist in that world anymore. I had outgrown that version of myself. The one who begged for attention, who made excuses for distance, who believed love meant endurance over respect. Eva must have seen the change in my face because she leaned in slightly and asked, "Everything okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just closure." And I meant it. A few days later, Sophie showed up at my apartment. I opened the door and found her standing there, clutching a coat too light for the weather. Her eyes darted around the hallway, like she was afraid of who might see her. "Lucas," she whispered. "Please." I didn't say anything, just stepped aside and let her in. She stood in the living room, looking at the space like it was foreign territory, which in a way it was. This wasn't her space. It never had been. I built this place alone, filled it with peace, light, and the kind of stillness that doesn't feel like loneliness. "This is nice," she said quietly, trailing her fingers along the bookshelf. "What are you doing here, Sophie?" She turned to face me. "I needed to see you. I had to say it in person." I folded my arms, waiting. "I was selfish," she began. "I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. I thought you'd come back. I thought you'd be angry, but eventually forgive me. I didn't expect this. This silence," she said. "You didn't fight. You didn't yell. You just vanished. And that hurt more than any breakup ever could." I nodded slowly. That silence was everything I never said while trying to hold us together. She took a step forward. "Is there even a small chance you'd give us another try?" I looked at her, and I swear, I searched for something, even a flicker of the old feeling. The ache, the need, the connection. But there was nothing. "I'm not the same man you walked away from," I said. "And you're not the woman I used to love." She opened her mouth to protest, but I held up a hand. "You don't get to destroy the house and then ask to move back in because you miss the furniture." Tears fell from her eyes, but I didn't move to comfort her. That was the difference now. Before, I would have rushed to fix her pain. Now, I understood something deeper. Her pain wasn't my responsibility anymore. She stayed for a few more minutes, probably hoping for a change of heart. But I remained quiet, composed. Finally, she whispered, "I'll go." And I let her. I closed the door, turned around, and exhaled. Not because it was hard, but because it was final. That was the last time I saw Sophie in person. She still sends messages from time to time. Mostly short, sad ones. Birthdays. "Hope you're well." Stuff like that. But I never reply, because walking away wasn't about punishing her. It was about rescuing myself. And I'm not going back to the fire just because she finally learned how to scream. Final reflection. She told me, "It was just a kiss, I love you." But now she understands something she didn't back then. If it meant nothing to her, then I must have meant nothing too. And that's something no apology can fix. She's drowning in regret. But I'm already breathing clean air.